All right, thank you. This is my audience. My name's Olivia, and the title of my speech is called Fatherless Generation. Lost, afraid, questions like you don't belong here or I'm not enough, rattling around in your brain. Second, guessing your identity. Never knowing what a father truly is until the age of 6, when I finally figured out I didn't have one. This was me. This is our generation. It is now normal to grow up in a home without a father. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 19.7 million children grow up in a home without a father. That is more than 1 out of 4 children in a fatherless home. Just think about that. 1 in 4 children. Consequently, there is a father factor in nearly all social ill factors in society in America today. So almost every single societal problem, and the root problem is not having a father or growing up in a fatherless home. Not even mentally or spiritually, but now it is seen to be the cause for behavioral problems. According to the National Fatherhood Institute off of fatherhood.org, children who grow up in homes without a father have 4 times greater risk of poverty. So this issue even causes poverty, 4 times the amount growing up fatherless. You're more likely to have behavioral problems, 7 times more likely to become pregnant as a teenager, 2 times more likely to drop out of high school. And for mothers without father support, their loss for pregnancy is 22%. 22% of mothers lose their baby even with a father supporting. But compare that to mothers who don't have a father support, their risk for pregnancy increases twice that amount. 48.1% of mothers lose their baby because they don't have a father support. This generation is suffering. It is suffering from not having fathers. I am thankful that this is not completely my story, however, it is part of it. I never knew my father. I grew up in a home with a single mother without a father figure all my life. I didn't even know what a father was until I was 6 years old. And now that is 1 child out of every 4 homes. That is their life. I didn't have a father growing up. But what saved me was being invited to church by close family friends who cared. They said, she doesn't have a father, but we know Jesus is our eternal Father, and when she goes to church, she might experience that, and she's not going to become a statistic. So I went to church, and I found Jesus. And you know what? I may have never had a father growing up, and I still don't, but I have Jesus. And because of his love and because of his internal father figure in my life, it filled a hole in my heart that I don't even feel like I'm missing out. But the rest of this world, it is missing out. And we see that in these numbers. We see that in prisons. We see that on the streets. And we see that in every major city where they do statistics at, because in prison, 92% of those men are fathers. What legacy are we leaving?
Go off.
And like these statistics, there are 5 people in this room. That means 1 person in this room grew up without a father, and maybe that's me, and maybe that's one of you guys. So, but even if it's just me in this room, it also says that in everyday life, you're gonna be in many more rooms with many more people who don't have fathers. So how are we gonna heal this generation? How are we gonna fix this problem? I'm gonna give you just a couple simple steps, but are so life-changing because they changed my life. Simply invite them to church. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your reputation. It doesn't matter how they might think about you, because in the end, it's eternal life. It's either heaven or hell. And we see in statistics, most of these kids growing up fatherless are gonna go to hell. That's just life. Because God is our Father, and this is something the devil is attacking, because he knows how much of an impact fathers have on our life. So invite them to church. Remind them Jesus is our eternal Father, even if they don't want to go to church. Just remind them, say, hey, I know you're struggling with this, But guess who is an eternal Father? He loves you way more than any earthly father will. Even if you had a good one, or even if you had a bad one, he loves you way more. Love them. Love covers all. Love covers everything. It says that in the Bible. So if I can ask one audience member to come up, would you mind doing it? Okay, thank you. You can be the friend who sees their friend struggling because they don't have a father. And would you mind coming up? And I'm not saying you do have a father problem, but we can just pretend like you're struggling with it. So I would like you to just come up and talk to her, and you talk to her as a friend, as in, what's going on, how's your day? And you try to find simple steps on how to help her struggle with this fatherless issue, because when we practice this, we can do it in the real world, and we can do this in life, and we can take steps in healing this generation. So if you guys would mind doing that.
Hey Ellie, you've been looking a little down. What's going on?
You know, just dad stuff.
What kind of dad stuff?
Yeah. He's real sick. I think he's gonna pass away.
Really? How do you feel about that?
I mean, we don't have a good relationship at all, so I mean, it's whatever.
Well, you know, nothing can replace your earthly father, but there is an eternal father. Like, have you ever been to church?
No.
No?
I mean, if God is real, why is my dad sick, and why do we have a bad relationship? That's dumb. Like, my dad is terrible.
Yeah, I can't give you all the answers, but would you be willing to come to church with me?
I guess. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to give it one try. So.
You'll receive a lot, you know. Have a new understanding of what a father's love looks like, even if you may not have gotten it from your earthly father during this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. See, when we practice these simple things, we can take this into real life. And we can start reaching out. We can start reaching out to our brothers and sisters and saying, I know you're hurting, but let me take you to a solution. So one of my passions is this ministry. One thing that God has called me to, because I've gone through this experience, and God just doesn't give us experiences that we can learn and grow. He gives them to us so we can also teach. So one thing I want to teach is having a ministry that does this. Tells people not even how to help people who are fatherless, but also tells them how to heal from that, to find healing and to also find forgiveness. Because when we heal the people in our generation who are about to rise up and be adults, we can also start teaching our young boys and our young women how to be godly men, how to be godly husbands and wives. Because what legacy are we leaving if we don't do anything to fix this problem? Because our generation already says 1 out of 4 people are fatherless. And that has caused so many issues, so many societal issues. We see that everywhere, in politics, in cities, in drugs, in anything. The root factor almost always is being fatherless. It says that in the statistics. So with this ministry, I believe it can also not even heal people, but it can also bring reconciliation between fathers and daughters and sons. So this fatherless generation doesn't have to pass on this legacy. So we need to start healing by teaching love. So let this not be our legacy. Thank you.